Today's podcast is brought to you by Audible.com. Get a free audiobook download and 30-day free trial at www.audibletrial.com/ChiroBusinessMojo. Over 180,000 titles to choose from for your iPhone, Android, Kindle, or MP3 player.
Welcome to the Chiro Business Mojo podcast, where we deconstruct the methods, marketing, and mindset of successful business people and chiropractors from around the world. And now your host, Dr. Richard Day.
Hello, I am Dr. Richard Day, and this is the Chiro Business Mojo podcast. You are in the right place at the right time, and speaking of time, thank you so much for spending some of your time with us here today. Today I'm going to talk about an attitude of gratitude and why this is so important. Now, I am not a particularly touchy-feely person. What I mean by that is, when I want to know how to get good at something, particularly business, I want a business book that shows me the steps. Start at step 1, step 2, step 3, and go on through and get this done. The problem with that thinking is that that's only one side of the coin, right? If it was as easy as following a recipe, then everyone would be able to be successful. Again, look at being a good cook. If you just open up a cookbook and follow the steps, does that make you a chef? I don't think so, because if you've watched any of the cooking shows that are on TV, there's a whole lot that goes into being a chef beyond just being a line cook or someone who's just following a series of steps. So why is this important? Well, recently I watched a TED Talks, and if you're not watching TED Talks, you ought to be. These are on Netflix. There's all kinds of subjects out there. And this particular person, his name is Shawn Achor, and he wrote a book called The Happiness Advantage. And this has been one of the most popular TED Talks. It's been very well received, and it's been viewed over and over and over. And it's really interesting because he has a lot of research into psychology and brain function that he puts to good use, and he really comes up with some great conclusions. And some of them are counterintuitive. One of them, just in a nutshell, is that our idea of what happiness is, we work really hard. When we work hard, we get successful. When we become successful, then we are happy. So here's what he says about this. Every time your brain has a success, we just change the goalpost of what success looks like. You do a good job. Oh, guess what? Now you have to go do a better job. You hit your sales target. Guess what? We're going to change your sales target. And if happiness is on the opposite side of success, your brain never gets there. What we've done is we've pushed happiness over the cognitive horizon as a society. I think he's right on with that. And I think as far back as early childhood, my reward for finishing my homework was, guess what? Here's some more homework. And that is the nature of life. But you can't make your homework or completion of homework where the happiness lies. Now, certainly having completed your homework, there is some happiness in that. But his point is that along the way, we need to learn how to be happy with the process that we're engaged in that is getting us where we want to go. Not just where we want to go at the end of that rainbow is where the happiness lies. So he talks about some of the ways that you can change the actual lens or filter that your brain sees life and life events through. And what he calls this is the happiness advantage. So he's basing this on the finding that, this is a quote, your brain at positive performs significantly better than it does at negative, neutral, or stressed. And so we tend to live very stressed lives. If you've got children, that's a stress. Financial concerns, that's a stress. If you've got aging or ailing parents, that can be a stress. It's coming at us really from all sides. And so it's shutting down learning centers of our brain. In fact, he talks about dopamine, and one of the effects of it, we all know, we associate that with happiness, but the second effect is that when we have it in our system, it turns on all the learning centers of the brain. So if you're living a life of stress right now, and you're viewing things through a negative lens, then there's a very good chance that your dopamine levels are down, and learning centers to your brain are shut off. And he talks a little bit about what it is that shapes our filter in life, the lens in which we see things. Some of that's the media. And when he mentions the media, he calls them out specifically and says, you turn it on and what do you see? You see corruption, murder, disease, natural disasters. And we start thinking this is normal, right? Just like what we see in our practices and medical doctors see in their practices, you start viewing your world through that lens, that everyone's some walking, talking ailment. And there are plenty of us with problems to be sure, but really, by and large, we're looking at the segment of the population that we're seeing, and we're making a very generalized judgment based on what we see. And so it starts wiring our brain in a certain way. So what I'm going to talk about today is how to unwire your brain, how to change the focus, the filter in which you take in the information and process decision making in your life. So he lays out 5 things. And the first one is an attitude of gratitude, or the 21-day gratitude challenge. What he wants you to do is start spending 2 minutes a day writing down 3 gratitudes over a 21-day period. His studies show that what I'm laying out for you right now can actually change those dopamine levels, open up those learning centers. And look, if you're looking to change things in your practice, you're not happy with where you are, you're listening to this podcast right now because you want to go out and start doing something differently tomorrow, then you need to get your brain engaged. You need to start turning on those centers of learning and get this thing happening. So I did this myself. I did the 21-day challenge. I'm not just up here reading a list to you. This is something I did, and I really saw a tangible difference in how I look at other people, my current situation in life. There's no miracle cure for anything, but every little bit helps. And that's what we tell our patients, right? Hey, if you do these exercises and you get adjusted, and lifestyle recommendations, follow those modification recommendations, every little bit's going to get you where you want to be. This is one more way you can do that. But it's a very important one, again, because you are turning on learning centers in your brain. So 3 gratitudes for 21 days. Write these down. The next thing he wants you to do is some journaling. And he just wants you to take one positive experience you've had in the last 24 hours and write it down. And I would just write down a sentence. This is what I did. I didn't sit down and, when you think of journaling, at least I think of a couple of paragraphs and suddenly I'm an author. And I didn't always have time to do that, but I did at least write a sentence or 2 down. And what he says is important about doing this is because our brains are actually reliving the experience as we're writing it down. So we're reinforcing that positive experience that we had by reliving it again through writing it down. Third, exercise. I've talked about it before. Make sure you're getting out there and exercising. It has an effect on our bodies and our brains as well. Number 4 is meditate. And why he says this is important, and I've heard of meditation before. It's not something I do. It's regularly. I've tried to do it, and it's something I need to start doing more and will start doing more. But it's because we live in a multitasking society. That's absolutely true of me. I know it is for you too. There's so much we have to do because as an entrepreneur, right, we don't just get to be the doctor. We have to wear all of the hats of business, the technician, the marketer, the entrepreneur, all of those that are described so eloquently in the E-Myth. So what we have to do is shut that down from time to time and just really concentrate on one thing, get some clarity of thought that way. And number 5 is random acts of kindness. So he says email someone, one person a day, telling them thank you for something. Or, you can buy Starbucks for the person in line behind you. It doesn't matter what it is, but in some way you want to show gratitude, or a random act of kindness, that is, to a stranger. That's what I like even better. But someone in your life who you want to give thanks to or praise, do that as well. So those 5 things. And these aren't just nice things to do, although they are nice things to do. These are actively rewiring your brain, changing the way your lens processes information, getting rid of that negative that we hear from the media and other places in our lives and replacing it with a different way of processing information. It's so important. So right now, again, if you are not happy with where you are, or you are getting ready to make a big change, just getting ready to get into practice, one way or another, you want all of the cylinders in your brain firing. So here is my challenge to you. Over the next 21 days, write down the 3 things you are grateful for. This is going to start rewiring your brain and turning on the dopamine and the learning centers of the brain. If you can do all 5 of the things I laid out, that is even better. But start with giving gratitude for 3 things per day. And in 21 days, you will have 63 things you are thankful for. How powerful is that? I can tell you when I did it, I really was overwhelmed by how many good things had happened to me in my lifetime and how much I had to be thankful for. Thanks so much for listening today, and we will catch you on the flip side. Psst. Hey, this is Dr. Day. I hope you are enjoying the show. If you are, please do us a favor and jump on over to iTunes to subscribe, rate, and review. Thanks.
Thanks for listening to the Chiro Business Mojo podcast at www.chirobusinessmojo.com.